It is almost impossible to overstate the importance of the Massachusetts Senate race today. And to give it some context, Massachusetts is one of the most Democratic states in the nation. It was the only state that voted for George McGovern over Richard Nixon in 1972. This is the Senate seat held by the Lion of the Senate, Ted Kennedy, since 1962, and losing it would be a huge defeat for the Democrats and for President Obama. And let's not forget, this is where the Boston Tea Party took place some 235 years ago. And now a new rebellion appears to be taking shape, with independents and many conservatives saying they are ready to send a message about what they see as a government that has become too big. Democrats have been trying for days to understand how this campaign could have gone so sour. Many activists outside the Coakley campaign are pointing at the candidate herself, noting that Martha Coakley has made more than a few gaffes.
Yeah, but now Scott Brown is Kurt Schilling, okay?
Another Yankee fan.
Schilling?
Yes.
Kurt Schilling, a Yankee fan?
No. All right, I'm wrong on my... I'm wrong.
The mission in Afghanistan was to go in because we believed that the Taliban was giving harbor to terrorists. We supported that. I supported that goal. They're gone. They're not there anymore.
We're, of course, still terrorists in Afghanistan. Joining us now are James Boyce, a Democratic strategist and blogger for HuffingtonPost.com, and Lenny Alcivar, Republican strategist. And James, let's start with you. Would you agree that Martha Coakley has not run a very good campaign?
Well, I think Martha Coakley hasn't run a very good campaign, David, but I think it's more than that. I think this is really an anti-Washington movement you're seeing. You know, when the Republicans are in power, people want to be a Democrat, and they want the Democrats in power. They feel they put the Democrats in power. A lot of people don't think a lot has happened in the last year since Barack Obama took office a year ago tomorrow. And I think that's what you're really seeing. And you're seeing Republicans energized. Scott Brown campaign worked very hard from the day they won the primary, and they're in very good position today.
Lenny, I want to ask you about a gaffe that was made by Scott Brown a year ago. He responded to somebody pointing out that Barack Obama, that his parents were married when Barack Obama was born, and Scott Brown seemed to throw fuel on the fire of all those Tea Partiers who think that Barack Obama perhaps was not an American and was not born to legitimate parents. Watch.
You sponsored a bill for a tax-subsidized bond to build a golf course in Newton. At the same time, you voted against financial aid for Red Cross workers who are working at 9/11.
Excuse me. First of all, Newton is in my district, number one.
Scott, let's just go meet with... Are you going to explain that vote?
And number two, we were in a financial difficulty, and we couldn't afford it, unfortunately.
But you could afford the tax-subsidized bond for a golf course.
We had to obviously take care of the people in Massachusetts who needed to stay employed.
And quite frankly, Barack's mom had him when she was 18 years old.
And married.
Well, I don't know about that. Yeah. But more importantly, the fact that she had him at 18 years old.
Now, Lenny, in that second clip, of course, he's saying that he was asked about Barack Obama's parents. He wasn't asked about Barack Obama's parents. He said that, oh, I don't know whether or not he was an illegitimate child or not. And then in that first clip, that gets to the whole idea about he's not providing, that he voted against aid for people who helped on 9/11, and yet at the same time that he was rejecting that proposal, he was essentially helping to float bonds to build a golf club in his district.
Well, David, I have zero understanding of what this has to do with this election. It reminds me of all of the other gaffes that the Democrats and that Martha Coakley has committed. And when you think about, on the other side of what's happening with Martha Coakley in a bad environment for Democrats, a bad candidate, frankly, and a bad campaign, coupled with Scott Brown, who understands that this is a referendum on spending, it's just more of the same from Democrats. It's an incredible thing, David.
Democrats say that Brown, that this is a referendum on hypocrisy, that for him, for example, not to provide health care to his campaign workers when a lot of other candidates do, and yet he's out there saying, well, I've got my own health care plan. Well, he doesn't offer health care to his own employees, and when he was asked about it, he said, well, that's okay because they're happy.
Well, boy, that is outrageously false. But again, all this points to is that Scott Brown gets everybody's got health care. The reality is this is a referendum on spending.
Everybody's got health care.
Ran a great
everybody's got health care.
On Brown's campaign.
Lenny, you just said everybody has health care. The fact is that nobody on that campaign has health care from Scott Brown. If they have it through other sources. Now, the point is,
okay, so they have it through other sources. What does that mean? This is unbelievable. Scott Brown's going to win this election because it's about spending. It's not about these Washington gotcha games. Scott Brown gets it. Democrats don't.
I get it, David, and I have 2 points to make, please. First of all, Barack Obama is an American citizen. His parents were married at the time of his birth. End of story. Let's not talk about that anymore. I do think it matters very much that Scott Brown's people that are working for Scott Brown on his campaign don't have health care provided by Scott Brown. I think that matters very much to the decision. And I think all these things are about what kind of senator would Scott Brown be. And if Scott Brown's priorities are golf courses in Newton over aid for people that helped out on 9/11, and if Scott Brown's priorities are for other people to provide people that work for him health care, I think that's an issue, and I think that will help. But let me take a step back. What this is really about, it's fascinating, David, to be in Massachusetts today. I was born and raised here. And all of a sudden, the world's turning or at least the country is turning its attention towards Massachusetts, which doesn't really happen a lot, to be honest. I've never gotten a robocall in my life, and I've got 10 or 15 in the past week. And I think that's actually making the situation worse, because Washington is coming to Massachusetts saying, you have to elect Martha Coakley, because this is really important for us in Washington.
Well,
and
James,
I think that's becoming an increasing disconnect.
Well, that's a good point. And look, this is a great discussion that we're having, but I'm actually going to agree with Lenny. I think this election is not going to turn necessarily on some of these issues. It's going to turn on pocketbook issues, and that may be where Democrats are in big trouble. In any case, Lenny Alcivar and James Boyce, thank you both for coming in this morning. We appreciate it.
Thanks, David.